Morning.
Morning. Thanks for doing this.
No problem. Nice to see you guys.
Um, so we just wanted to find out a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you got started, how Estilo Paintball came about.
So Estilo Paintball was long after I got into paintball. The first time I saw paintball was an I Sports magazine. It was a mail order. This is like '97. My father was a banker. One of his colleagues had brought it home. I was 7, so he says, "Check this out." And imagine the 7-year-old like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're guns. And I said, oh, they make noise. They shoot things. Things come out, and you can hit each other with them. So obviously, I was hooked. Then fast forward 3 years, I'm 10 years old. The first time I played was actually a private party at SC Village in my church. So St. Paul the Apostle in Chino Hills. It was a totally different world back then when you've got churchgoers, St. Paul the Apostle, bottom of the road, Beirut, so that was the entrance into paintball. I was a lifer from there. In high school, I started a small business with my dad. I was like, 13, 14 when you start high school, so that was Paintballers, etc. At the time, Angel was still the major gun that was being shot by Dynasty. So we got into reselling those, and then as soon as we took the first shipment of those Angels, they're sponsored by Smart Parts. So that was a very short-lived business adventure there.
Yeah.
But the fortunate thing was I became a certified technician. So I was probably the youngest one in the room. My dad had to go to Huntington Beach. They had it at I believe it was the Hilton or the Hyatt right there on PCH.
Right. Yeah.
Knowing what I know now, I would have loved to have been in my 20s to hang out, at night. But my dad went to chaperone because I was a youngster. He actually got a default certification just because he was there. But if you asked him to turn an Angel on today, he would have no clue. So that was 2005 was when I graduated high school. And then I went on kind of a sabbatical from 2005 probably till 2013-ish, and I started working for Absolute Sports. Many people know that as Paintball Gateway. So
Right.
they opened an Orange County store in Garden Grove. It was me and 2 other individuals that were there to do the opening, and that's where I actually started to learn the vocab of paintball. Up until that point, it was super hobby. I was very vested in the magic of it, but I didn't know how to correlate the industrial regular terms and then how paintball. It was still paintball to me. And the years that I worked at Gateway, I learned that high pressure air tank on a paintball gun, well, that's just a Department of Transportation regulated vessel. And that was one of the many things that I started learning there. I learned about anodizing, how things are made, manufactured, and then from there I stepped into the laser CNC world. Totally lucky, right place, right time. I used that vocab that I learned at Gateway. I sat down with my old man. We wrote a resume about the things that I understood, and within 7 days I was hired as a laser service technician for one of the largest sheet metal manufacturing equipment manufacturers on the globe, Mata America. That's when everything went turbo. So it went from very little about manufacturing to a very lot. Now there's 2 different realms. You've got what they call chips. That's your billet, your CNC milling machines, and then you have fabrication. That's your sheet metal, your stainless steel tubes. So that was the industry that I spent the last 7 years in, working on these machines. But in the back of my mind, I want to make paintball guns, and I want to know more about the CNC mills, and I want to learn how to make a block of material into a part. Sheet metal is 2D. You cut out little cookies, and then you bend them, and that's pretty much it. It's everywhere around us. It's big money, but it wasn't my necessary cup of tea. So Estilo came around as I started to develop and acquire my own, equipment. This machine here, this is known as a knee mill. So this is probably one of the greatest things that was made. I'm going to say 100 years ago, before CNCs, you'd have warehouses full of 100 or 200 of these machines with a very specialized employee running parts for GM and all the big, manufacturers. So the first time I saw one of these was in a photo on a Warp Sports website. At the time, they were putting brake beam eyes in Angels, and obviously I'm an Angel guy. So I wanted eyes, and I saw this in the back of one of their photos, and I knew immediately what it was because I had a little drill press from Harbor Freight, and I said, that one, the table moves. Like, I imagined all of the things I could do with it instead of with a Dremel and a ruler. So once a year, my parents they had a timeshare in Cancun, and I knew, guaranteed, from September this to September that, the house, there ain't nobody there. So once I had the cash flow, because now I was gainfully employed with the MATA, I, bit the bullet. One of my close friends, his cousin, his dad has a big shop in Fontana. So he was into like racing. He made like hot rods and they're called sand rails for, racing in the dirt. Mm-hmm. So that's when I actually got to touch my first milling machine. And then he ended up selling it to me. That's late great Andy Goff. He actually passed away in a motorcycle accident not too long ago. But the week my parents weren't there, he came through with the Caterpillar, with the big tanks, left a whole bunch of marks all over the garage. I moved this into the third car garage and, ran the power, and it was set. Until the fateful night when my parents came back from the airport, and my dad, he hit himself on the back of the machine because he didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
And I heard him screaming from the garage, Justin, what the hell is this? But I had told him, I'm going to buy a machine that I'm going to commit to it. Yeah. So fast forward a little longer, I got married, we moved into this house, and then the machine was here. And always in the back of my head, it's not making money, it's not doing anything. Like, I would do little projects here and there. And it was a year of learning because I bought this. I had no idea what I was doing. And what I like to pride myself in is the failure rate. When you're getting into machining and you have zero formal knowledge of anything, it's incredibly easy to destroy things, to hurt yourself or whatever. I've got a zero failure rate. I think I've messed up one body, sort of, and anodizing covers it all up. But for me, I take my time. I like that all the lines line up. And I think that's where I started getting the following, because even old machines like this, they have digital measuring devices and a whole bunch. Everything you see in this shop is analog. I think I have one digital caliper. Everything else is gears and springs and analogs. So that's the difference between me and what a lot of other people are doing. Everything that I make here is a one-off. So even though might be exactly the same or similar to another one, that was made by hand over the course of many hours, counting the dials on the old machines. So that's how I started learning. And then I met clients through the sheet metal world as I would work. And one of the clients that we had, they purchased a laser from Canada. It's known as a gray market machine. Amada didn't want to have anything to do with it because, that we don't know the history. I convinced my service manager to let them bring the machine in. Got it going, and I made a good rapport with that guy. They make Lazy Susans for cars, the rich and famous. That's where I met Miguel. He's the owner of a machine shop in Pomona. He's my age, he's from Ensenada, and he has the same mindset. He loves measuring. We could spend hours talking about math and technology, and is actually a very good friendship. He has 3 CNC machines there, and then now I have a whole new set of vocab that I'm learning. So how do I make more than one? So that's where we're getting to. Still very slow and steady like the tortoise, but that's where we're getting to there. And then it kind of steamrolled out of control because of the autocockers. The autocockers came back, and there's work all over the place. So, one thing led to another. I went to go open, work with another gentleman that opened his own consultation engineering firm. That didn't work out because I have a brand new kid, and it was just I want to be home more. So how can I do this? So I opened up my own LLC. I got my own laser work on the side, so that pays the bills. And now I got 3 days a week to do what I love here. So that is basically how the organics of Estilo, came to be. The name, I'm a white Mexican. I thought it would be cool. I actually had it spelled wrong originally with two L's, and then Miguel corrected me. He said there's only one L. So I was like, oh, okay. So, it stuck. And then Robert Cade from Hawaii, he actually designed the first logos. and that was my first big job. So he met me through, I like to call it the SoCal Circle. So that's something that I was very fortunate at being part of, and it was because I worked at Paintball Gateway, and I remember seeing Check It products, you know, in West Covina. I didn't know. I was just a young kid. I didn't know how deep Check It products was. You know, Check It products touched all of pro paintball. Like, and when I worked at Gateway, all the friends of the owner would come in and they'd BS in the tech room, and slowly I start developing these rapports with all these guys. And it's like, wait a minute, you were on what team? And so, oh yeah, look, these are all the first places that we get. And I was like mind blown. I still am to this day. Whenever we hang out, it's just like, you know, I'm starstruck. Britney Spears can come through, and I'd be like, eh. But then you see some guy from some, you know, paintball team in the '90s, like, oh, you know, can I take a picture with you?
Yeah.
So I still see the magic of paintball. That is, you know, why I think California is the mecca of paintball. I hear horror stories about like field paint only. We get to play all year long, and sometimes you can buy 5 cases for $100 in California. They suffer in New York. You got to spend $70 a box, and you can only play during the months when it's not frozen cold. So paintball is always here in California, and that's why I've always been allowed to take my time in getting into certain things, and it was always lucrative and, you know, successful. You know, we're not making big bucks, but it pays for the time it takes me to, you know, to complete some of the projects in the job. So when I met Robert Cade, he was a friend with, you know, one of the guys, and he sends me a box of 5 bodies. And at that point, I was taking like a week per body, and you know, and he's like, here's 5, make them all identical. So I was like, oh shoot, you know, and I had to do it. And I had just had my first child, so it was like, it was go time. He loved them. He sent me bodies, and then it kind of, you know, snowballed out of control there. And then I met another guy. His name's William Bailey. He's good friends with Bud Orr. He sent me 5 bodies, and then he sends me dozens of bodies, you know, just to cut them up and have something to do. So I've been very fortunate that my base started in California, and I was able to network with a lot of like the people that are, you know, fully vested in paintball. So Estilo originated, you know, from the core of someone who's just a general enthusiast, you know, a diehard, and I was able to meet, you know, a lot of people that had walked it before I did, and, you know, they showed me, you know, it's like, check it out, Justin, it's not that hard. Even though my old boss, he would always, you know, joke with me, don't buy a machine, you're going to cut your finger off, you know, the first time. So still here, all 10. So, you know, that's where Estilo came from. And yeah, you know, I'm just trying to do my thing and make more stuff. So what I'm trying to get into now is making OEM products. So a lot of people send me parts to be modified. I ran a batch of bodies, and I'm gathering all the components to build full builds, because a lot of customers see pictures that I post and, is that for sale? And I always have to say, oh no, this belongs to someone. So now I'm running some of the more popular shapes that I've done and styles, and then I'm going to provide those as like a complete gun or like a already anodized body kit, you know, because some people like to build it themselves.
Yeah. Some
Some people just want to write a check and take it to the field. So I want to be able to offer a little bit to, you know, all of the niches. So, you know, that's where Estilo came from.
Cool, cool. Do you have any bodies you want to show off, or any of your products that you have?
So this
You can
is
show
the,
us. We can edit this. So we can.
this is the basically, I'd like to say this is my cut, but it's not really. So everyone in paintball knows Dye Precision, you know, Dye Paintball. They're most famous for the ultralight barrel and the boomstick. Aaron Carter was the machinist that helped, you know, create that company. So this was his, you know, style. I think he does real firearms now. So he took that look and the nostalgia and he put it on the guns. Check It, they also did one like this when they were, you know, doing bodies. So what I did is I kind of took the things that I liked the most with, you know, the simple measuring tools that I have and the cheapest cutters that I could get, because, you know, I'm the cheapest machinist you're going to find. And this is what I've created. So this is the Estilo cut. So it's a timeless, you know, look.
Yeah,
You know,
those are beautiful.
It looks like the slide on like an automatic Colt pistol. It's got, you know, your little ovals. You usually see that on sight rails on like revolvers or whatever. So this is, you know, a hybrid of both. And the funny thing is, when I was a young paintballer, I didn't really like paintball guns that looked like real guns, because there was like, real guns are scary. And then as I matured, it was like, well, I actually do like the squares, and I do like the simplicity of it, because I think the high ends have gone too far into like the alien look. There's too alien. So, maybe down the road, my dream would always to have my own private label of a contemporary high end. How you get into that, how you do that, I have no clue. But like my vision, I think it would be super cool to have a contemporary, Planet spool valve with just a square body, with the simple lines, all black. Just something simple. I think people would like that. So this is actually an example of the cut, and then I have a few bodies here that I have had anodized. And the reason I chose gold is I had a customer recently purchase one of the bodies that I had machined for Sonny, and he sold them. And he did gold, and I just thought it popped so well.
Yeah.
So I said the very first ones that I'm gonna do are gonna be gold. So this is going to be a sniper with all CCM parts, and then I have another one identical to this. It's gonna be semi-automatic, and those are gonna be the first line items that I'm gonna resell as Estilo made products. And what I'm calling this series is A Mi Manera. So what that means in Spanish is my way. So.
Right.
If you guys like Frank Sinatra, you can even play the song while you're holding the gun. But these ones are my way. So when I like simple, I like clean, I like black. So for me to get something anodized, a crazy color like this, it's gonna have black parts on it. So that's what I'm working with now. And I like to make practical stuff. So a lot of the ideas that I'm generating right now to make like OEM parts are accessories that go on components that people already have. Everybody that's a diehard paintballer has a drawer full of just millions of different things. So what I want to do is I want to take those old parts that are collecting dust, put my addition to it, and now you can use it again. So I'm working on a trigger right now for the WGP hinge frame. Very ugly, but when the masses see the trigger that I designed for it, it's going to be very cool, because I'm combining two of my loves, so Angel and Autococker. So maybe people can guess what it will look like, but you'll see it soon enough.
Cool.
Practical items that can make what you already have new again and usable again. And I think that's the great joy of the mechanical resurgence. People like to take things apart. People like to build things. That's what kind of died when the space guns came. It was too perfect, It's like, what is custom about it? Well, I get it custom anodized. Okay, it's still the same as the other one. Well, I get it custom lasered. Well, yeah, that's real nice, but it's still the same as the other one. Back in the time of the mechanical guns, there wasn't one autococker that was looking the same as any of them. It was just, like a kaleidoscope of pieces all over the place. So I know damn well that everybody has lots of stuff in their drawers that, can take a fresh new look and have a, fresh set of paint or a fresh new shape to make it new again and usable again. And another thing that I want to get into is bulk anodizing. So for me, I see like the profit margins are very difficult to achieve on full guns because the cost of putting all the parts in. So what I like to do is I like to get good components that are either new old stock or like used but not messed up, and ano match them all. And so what I've started doing is getting, I'll feed out to my clients, hey, I'm going to do a run of black. Everybody submit your pieces, take a picture, how many is there. We get them all anodized. So now you guys can get a nice, economical anodizing. I can get my full builds anodized, and everybody's happy. So it's like you just share the wealth, because that's the thing with paintball. Paintball of 10 years ago, it was secret. Everything was secret. Well, now because of YouTube and there's geniuses everywhere because of YouTube. Everybody kind of knows how things are being made now. So you got guys buying little table CNCs for their garages, and they're learning in 2 weeks' time how to use them. You got guys buying little lathes, just getting into it. that's great. 20 years ago, you needed $25,000 or whatever to buy something even remotely close to a milling machine.
Yes.
Well, now you can get a nice tabletop one brand new for pennies compared to what they were a long time ago. So I think that's the beauty and the future of paintball is the people making their own stuff now. So I'm just super vested in it, obviously, but everybody is kind of making things now. So that's kind of, I just want to leave something behind. There's 401ks and there's things that money, but it's nothing that you can leave behind. I'm machining guns that are 20-year-old metal. So sometimes I take it to the metal finisher and they're like, we got it to match. And I laugh and I say, yeah, it looks good. And then I tell them, that was an array of parts from like 1995 all the way to 2023. Different types of aluminums, who knows what's in there, and you get it to match. That's cool. So that's also another learning curve that I learned with the anodizing. They want you to submit a blueprint with call outs. It's engineering. So it's just like, I studied engineering, didn't graduate with an engineering degree. I actually graduated with a BS in literature and a teacher credential to teach English in high school, but I still wanted to be an engineer. So you could learn it formally or you could learn it in the field. So that was the choice that I took. And not to toot my own horn, I know a lot of people with engineering degrees that are flipping burgers and selling coffee. So I think, engineers are born, not made. So everybody that's doing their thing, that's machining, that's making custom products, I applaud you. Without those kind of minds, we wouldn't have the paintball that we have today. It would be my dream to blow up and be a shock tech, be a free flow. That would be awesome. Those companies are so renowned because they were awesome when they were the prime deal. 10 years sabbatical, still awesome. So, that's because their products lasted the test of time. And in today's society, products that last the test of time that's not how things are made. Things are engineered with planned obsolescence. Your car is designed to go 50,000 miles and start to break down so they can make new sales. Paintball, it's kind of like that, but not really, because even though the new models roll out every year, the old models are still running. It's just teams get sponsored, you get deals, so you get the new stuff. But where does the old stuff go? It doesn't get thrown away. People are reusing it. It lives on forever. So I think that's the beauty of paintball. It's still a product in an industry that makes things to stand the test of time, because it's a brutal sport, in the sense of how these things need to, what they need to hold up against. If you've played any kind of paintball, a pair of tennies die on the paintball field. You can eat a paintball, it's biodegradable, but whatever's in that stuff destroys rubber, it destroys plastic, paint on the cars. So for the guns to hold up, after many, many outings, it's a proof that they're good products. It's very rare that you see like ultimately horrible paintball products. They do exist, smoke and mirrors, but they're still, still pretty good. We've seen a lot of like psychoballistics, for example. That was like a low-end, copy of the autococker. People still build them. They still fit all the same parts. They still work. It's just it's a Geo Metro. It's not a Corvette.
Yeah.
It still functions. So that's just what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to make things to last the test of time, and leave a little history. I think it would be cool in 20 years. People are on the forums and somebody's like, hey, who cut this body? And then somebody chimes in, and when I got a gray beard, that's kind of why I do it. It's an art to me. And if I look back to when I was young, like I rarely sell personal markers. And my mother, she because they're involved with their kids, she always told me, Justin, you grow too attached to these things. You can't let them go. And it's like, well, it's like growing a plant or having a kid. All the time it takes to build it, acquire the pieces, and then actually make it work. You fall in love with them, and I think that's what we all share as paintball enthusiasts. We love the sport, we love the game of tag. We're still little kids, but it's in an environment where we can exercise, grown-up ideas. I haven't met one paintball enthusiast, die hard, that doesn't have a smidget of intelligence. Everybody that's in paintball is really bright in their own way. We've got web designers, and you got the artistic creators, the people that make the headbands and the jerseys. Everybody's got a knack in this sport. So that's why I think it's such a cool community. And I think the reason why it stays cool is the social media. I don't know if you remember PB Nation or War Pig.
Yeah. Yes.
that was that was like the early days of the internet. Waiting for my dial-up. Waiting for somebody to respond for a week on PB Nation.
Yeah.
That's how we communicated. I met one of my closest friends, the guy whose cousin sold me this machine. I actually met him on eBay. He sold me a Frenzy board for 2K5 Intimidator, and he was in Pomona. We did a local pickup. I thought he was some Mexican dude, and he thought I was a Chinese kid. He gets out of the car, and it was like no homo, but it's like love at first sight. It's like, you like angels? I like angels. So he sells me the boards. One of them was kind of messed up. I had to solder something. And then 10, 15 years we've been friends, and recently I asked him, John, where'd you get those boards from? And he's like, oh, I was at the HB Nipple event, and they were in the trash behind the blast booth.
Wow.
So he just found some crap and sold it on eBay. I was like, well, that's how our friendship started, nice.
Yeah.
So those were the early days, but because of the evolution of the paintball social media, everybody could talk. And I think the beautiful thing of that is it gives us something to do Monday through Friday. Paintball only exists Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So what else do we do to keep satisfied?
Yeah.
We're on the forums. We're posting pictures, liking pictures, talking smack. That's paintball. We're still getting our jabs in, gearing up for Saturday to get the real ones at 300 feet per second. So it's really cool, what everybody's doing. And I think, and I hope that paintball evolves like past. I hear this because I was a consumer at the time, but like the past paintball, it was very like close knit, and everybody wanted their cash. So there was like the war between Smart Parts and WDP for like the micro switch patent. And at the time, I hated Smart Parts because it was like, I love Angel, like F those guys. But then who's around still? Smart Parts. They make awesome, awesome guns. The insides of the little shockers or the amps or whatever you call them, they're amazing. The engineering that's inside of them, the small pieces that goes into it, it's incredible what they could pack into that small package. So, that's people change. Smart Parts cool, but there was a time when I was like, F those
Everybody
guys.
hated them.
Yeah, but they're doing what they're doing. So I'm hoping that paintball gets more into like a close knit instead of anti my competitor, anti this. We work together, So like, I give mad props to all of the machinists that are doing it, because the thing that a lot of people don't see that goes into machining, even with the CNC, there's a lot of time that goes into it. A lot of drawing, a lot of math. So even though it might, he's doing it on a CNC, let me get a deal from him. Sometimes it takes more work to do something on a CNC than it does to do on just a Bridgeport. So, I applaud everybody that's investing their, waking hours away from their families, away from, their steak dinners, getting products out to people that love the sport, So that's, fortunately for me, my wife supports it, and she actually kind of pushed me to go out on my own, because she was like, Justin, coming home at, leaving at 4, getting home at 7, and then being in the garage till midnight, you're going to die. So it's just like, yeah, so now I still wake up at 4, but, I get to go have breakfast at 7 in my kitchen, and then come back at 10, long breakfast, and keep doing what I'm doing. So it's, it's been great, and I think that the community is growing, and the community is getting better at agreeing with each other. So as long, it sounds like a hippy-dippy kind of, how would you say, like a statement, but that's what we need.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful, yeah.
The game of paintball is the arena for the war. You want to war against each other, load up, get on the field.
Yeah.
Let's use the minds and the creation, and let's work together, So I've gotten components from other machinists, that they integrate something, and I put it on my guns, and everybody loves it, So it's just like, why deny the customers what they love, So if I got something from Mozak, I'm going to give him a shout out. He's making a whole bunch of good stuff. He's actually a young man, and he's doing big, grown-up stuff. So that's awesome, So the only thing I don't like about Mozak is that he stole my name. My name was Justin first.
That's right.
But yeah, what other questions we got?
So we know about the snipers and autocockers, but I know you also do work on angels. What do you do?
So the angel,
what are some of the stuff?
I still believe is the most advanced paintball marker ever made. So I fell in love with that gun. It was actually at the West Covina Check-It. We used to go there to buy paint, me and my dad, and they would sell a box of like 2,500. It was just one big bag, but it was cheap. So my dad was like, "We're getting it there." So I'm in line, waiting, for the paint, and I see one of the employees showing an Angel to a customer. It's shiny red, it's like, oh, that's way out of my price range. And then I see him crack the breech open. Need to have it. That is so cool because this is like before eyes. Yeah. And you could run a squeegee through that. Right. And like chopping paint was like a big thing back in the day. So I was like, the Angel. So that's what snowballed the love for the gun. And I was a youngster when, the Angel came and died. So like I just started kind of getting into the industry, and then the Angel became something that fell into the darkness. But that's where my heart was. So I'm still putting electronics in the old legacy guns. I custom make wiring harnesses, rebuild wiring harnesses. I make the photoelectric eye sensors. So those will turn your old legacy Angel into now a modern circuit-controlled electropneumatic marker. I'm actually working on one right now that's in my kitchen shop. I'm sorry, Stephanie. And I got the eyes in there, and that's where it goes. But the Angel is something that I just think it's super cool. Dynasty run Triple Crown with the Angel. Dynasty. That's why the Angel was so tight. Yeah. And I think that when they went to Smart Parts, it was because Angel never gave him a Dynasty gun. Joy Division had a Joy Division gun. They weren't winning Triple Crowns. It's like, what the hell? So it would have been cool if there was just more than just a blue, Dynasty gun, or just like two lasered or however they did it. But from my understanding, they never had like their own Dynasty Angel, which I don't think they did. Like the Mambas was like it was a model that Cobra Paintball made. Yeah. But it was like just blue. Was it really a Dynasty gun? Well, if they used it, it was. But was it a line item OEM? I don't think so. So Angels at one point you couldn't give them away. So it was so easy to maintain them because I could get a handful of parts for $10 and rebuild to my heart's content. And then all of a sudden, this is where social media kind of killed that, because the collectors, the hoarders. So all of those endless eBay listings evaporated. Now there's one guy with all the valves, all those $3 valves. Now they're $30, So it's like, oh crap. So that kind of forced me to figure out, well, how do I fix the stuff that's already in there? So very easy. A torch and a set of V-blocks and a nice machinist vise. You can take apart almost every damn thing on the older Angels. And the beauty of the older Angels, we're going to call that Generation 1 is the LED to the LCD. For the oldest two models, those are the most robust. Isn't that the funniest? So the only Angel I don't support is the A1. That is the very last one that came out. Tolerances are all over the place. It was manufactured in, the Orient somewhere, I don't know. But they had, they're horrible. They came with bolts with like huge clearance issues, and you had to buy an upgrade bolt for it to shoot 300. It's like, what the hell, dude? Yeah. So what I started doing was modifying the rams, modifying the hammers, and trying to figure out a way to recycle the things that came in the boxes that people were sending me. So that allowed me to create like a checklist. So, hey, Justin, I got this box of stuff. I think it'll make a whole Angel. Send me a picture, and I'll go through it. And I say, yep, I can make that go. And the funniest story of Angel, you can ask my wife, she dubbed it the brick gun. So that was the base model Angel LCD. It was just a big rectangle, very heavy. During the sabbatical from like after I graduated high school, before I went back to Gateway, I had, when you're on eBay and you put a bid on something, but like, I'm not going to win it. I did. It was like $30, the whole Angel. And I think the original owner had a field. I'm not sure. But it was all waterlogged. There was mud in the barrel. And he was like, yeah, it was in a creek on my property. So I took it, cleaned it all out, down to the circuit board. Aside from the battery, everything worked after being waterlogged, So it's like, that told me, like, damn, these things are built tough, So fast forward a couple more months, I had a bid on another weird, it was a toxic single trigger frame, $30. And oh damn it, I had to pay, so the guy sent it to me. It had like a micro switch from when you open your microwave. It clicks if the doors open or close. And I was like, man, what the hell? You know, he had an ultralight board in there, but it was all dremeled and messed up. So by then I had the mill now, so I cleaned up all the nasty holes, replaced the electronics, put that on that beater Angel, and that thing has gone with me to Oregon Super Game for the last 5 years. 23 balls a second, you know, it throws paint, and I love that gun. So like I buy, you know, I think since I've started playing in '97, I've bought 5 guns brand new. The most recent brand new marker I bought was a Free Flow, the Dye Throwback. You know, I waited almost 24 months for that gun, but boom, 300, like right out of the box, and I was like, hell yeah. Of all the brand new guns that I bought a OLED Lux, the Dye M2, like the M170R, they're all recent, because most of the stuff I buy is old Angels. I was never that happy, because my brick gun, like it outshot them, I got more paint per tank out of it, so they always just were like, let my friends that don't play use them. I used the brick. But when I got that Free Flow, it's like, hey, when's the next time I'm going to go? That gun shot really well. So those are some of the parts that I'm putting into my full build. So all of the P-blocks that I'm doing on the Estilo, they use the Free Flow bolts. So that, you know, is cool. But the Angel is still, you know, my go-to. I love the Angel. It's, you know, it's a cool gun. And I think they were the first people that started my dad calls it the arms race. So Angel was the first people with that $1,000 price tag, but there was actually doing it. You know, Smart Parts had their, you know, their shockers, you know, etc. But it's like, that compared to this, and at the time, you know, it was significantly different. And the Angel was, you know, being sold. You know, some of the people that I talked with that had shops back in the day, when they first hit the States, people would see it on the wall and be like, oh, how much is it? And they'd kind of like under their breath, oh, it's $1,500. What? Let me get 5 of them. So that was like, you know, the first stories of people spending big ticket item money on multiple units is the Angel, you know, and they ripped. So, you know, the cool thing about that is if you look at some of the old Dynasty posters, Russian Legion posters, Joy Division, and you look close at the pictures, you'll see a little black line coming from the breech down to the trigger frame. So when I took my first certification for WDP, I remember Rodney Squires was there. He was my sales rep. There was all the WDP. I met John Rice, the inventor. And that was the year of the 2003 Speed and the A4. So that was the first low-pressure Angel platform. So we're, you know, learning how to use them. They're teaching us. And it's like, pop, 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 pop. And I see Rodney Squires go to the back where they had the airfill with the generation prior. It was a Rocky Cagnoni IR3. Yeah. And I saw those little things on the side. What is this little boogers he got on the side? And then you just hear it in the background. Wah! And my dad looks at me and he goes, our guns don't sound like that. So that's when I was like, what's in there? So it was an Intimidator board with Intimidator eyes. The Intimidator killed the Angel. It was those eyes. Yeah. And that was the stubborn British. They didn't want to put the brake beam eyes, and they had that COP sensor. So it was a little pin with a little dinky switch. You know, in theory, it technically would work better than brake beam eyes because it could predict the stat. So a brake beam eye can only see that one ball is there. The COPS or the Sensi, it could count. So if it senses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls, it knows there's 5 ready to go. The downside is, how does it know it was actually a ball? When I'm running, that sensor's going up. Yeah. So it was a horrible design, and it was the wrong time for them to not, you know, move forward. Dynasty moved on to the shockers. They released the Angel A4 with eyes afterwards, but it was already too late.
Too late.
You know, way too late. So, you know, the cool thing is though now, that's what I specialize in. So people like to have different, you know, kind of criteria on their gun walls. So the Angel is now becoming it's more of like a museum piece, but I can make the museum pieces work just like the New Age stuff. So I think there's more people that like Angels like on the East Coast. I'm not sure why, but that's where a lot of, you know, I see a lot of resellers and a lot of people training. There's more stuff on the East Coast. All the Angels we get used out here, like beat to hell, because most of them were used by teams, and they're like, I have 3 Ironmans. All of them that I acquired, very ugly, you know, because they were used. And, you know, of the 150 made, they were probably used by someone on the Ironman at one point. So that's why everything in California, the mecca of paintball. We play a lot, so your
Yeah.
gear is going to get, put to the limit. So the thing with the Angels is I can make it look, from a beater to a heater, no problem. So the beauty of the mills, I don't have to do it with the Dremel anymore. I don't have to do it with the drill press anymore. Now I can accurately, in a short period of time, get the eye holes in, get the wiring channels all machined. I'll build the wiring harnesses, build the eyes, and then it's all robust. So a lot of the new technology, they use ribbon cables to supply the signals to the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's because they got to fit it in these tiny bodies. Well, what the downside of the ribbon cables is, it's like paper. You look at it wrong, it's torn, and now you're waiting a week to get the parts, or if you don't have spares. So all of the eyes that I build are hardwired with thick corded wire. You could step on these things, shoot them, and they're not going to break. So I've got markers that are going 10 years, the same electronics. Customers call me, I haven't used it in a while, can I bring it by? And it's just like, check the regs, yeah, just the way I left it, machine guns. So, that's the beauty of the Angel. That's the art that they used to be on the super guns. I think the person who did it best when it came to like the custom guns is Bob Long. He had the coolest machining, and he was like the first one to start doing the crazy anodes. Bob Long really did it right. I remember going to the first PSP in Pomona, and I was little, wide-eyed. Hey, wow, look at this! In the big Bob Long booth, they got the little screens in the side, all the colors. And my dad was like, "Nope, we're walking right away from this because that's like expensive." But even then, the Bob Longs, they have a curator's essence to them. They're beautiful markers, and there's a lot of people rebuilding those now too. And the cool thing about Bob Long is I'm a master of their electronics. Why? Because I was taking those electronics and putting them in Angels. So when it comes to electronics for the Bob Longs, I can repair those. That's a very simple gun. It's a spider with a solenoid valve. So that's where the beauty of the Angel and the likeness, like why I like the Angel came to be. Just California, Dynasty, I guess. There were Saturdays you go to SC Village. Alex Frazier would be there in the pits. They'd always be there, ready to kick your ass into the ground. But it was tight, Like now, you never see pros. They have private training facilities, and as they should, because they're pros. But there was once a time where everybody was a dirty little SC rat. It didn't matter who you were, you're still buying your wristband and you're getting into the thick of it with everybody else, from the little guys to the big guys. So that was the cool thing about growing up in Southern California, is SC Village was right down the street. And if you look at the old like Dynasty jerseys, like I think even the Ironman jerseys maybe, they had the SC logo, it's world famous, SC Village. So that was my first job. I was 16 years old. That was my first W-2 income, was at SC. I worked there as a gun tech. My dad tells me stories because he'd come to visit me. I was only 16, and he come bring me lunch, and I would have a line of 50, 60 people before lunchtime, and he would be like, "Damn, Justin, you're gonna be here all day." By 1 p.m. chilling, and my dad said, "What happened to all those people?" I was like, "I fixed the guns already." And this is with like a set of Allen keys, a file set, and some super glue. Like there's nothing to work with at the SC Tech booth, but that was where I drew my resourcefulness. So it's just like, okay, this is important, this isn't important. You need this kind of stuff to do this kind of stuff. So that's why I made it, a goal to get machines, because I said as soon as I got that machine, I can fix anything and I can make anything. And I think that's the beauty of engineering and manufacturing. You have the gift of creation. And I think that's what a lot of the youth needs to, focus on nowadays. We're having a manufacturing like uptick with the United States because COVID and shipping and all that. We were forced to start making things at home again, and I think that's what we're doing. So the trades are looking for people. There's more jobs in the trades available than there is, for something with some credential. And I think people need to, not be scared, to enter the trades. There's like those old cartoons where there's a mom whispering to her son. He's looking at a trash man. She's like, "Oh, you don't want to be like that guy." But then you look at the trash man's, what he's doing. He's making 6 figs. He's paying for everything, but he's just a trash man. Yeah. Well, who cares? Nobody's looking at your personal record. The mortgage people don't care where the money's coming from. As long as it's there, it's all gravy. So I think people need to find the new, appreciation, renew the appreciation for manufacturing and the industrial, revolution that was once here in the United States. We borrowed, from Japan how to kind of make things. Henry Ford did his thing, but now we've got the internet. Everybody can share, so it makes it easy to share intellectual property. Obviously there's some things that you can't share if you're like doing stuff for aerospace or whatnot, but people need to, remember, where did my iPhone come from? It didn't just come out of like a little printing machine.
Yeah.
That's a machined housing. That's a beautiful work of art. When it comes to like the state that manufacturing has got to, it's incredible. So paint guns and paint guns and paint guns. When I worked for Armada, I was one of the lead service engineers there for the laser department, and I would always get asked, how long did you go to school for this? Where did you learn this? And I tell them humbly, I just show up to work every day, and I love Angel paintball guns. And they would laugh, like, what does that mean? Well, the Angel paintball gun had an SMC solenoid. SMC is one of the largest manufacturers of automation. So all the robots that you see that are making cars in all the factories, they're running SMC valves. So you've got CKD, they make pneumatics. You've got Clipper, they make the first rams for autococker. That all comes from that industrial knowledge that I learned from Gateway. Gateway taught me it's not just paintball. This is what it's called in the real world. So there's everything. So in the grip of our hand, we had infrared sensors talking to Palm Pilots with the LCD screen in 1998, 2000. So now we're barely getting the screens back, and now we got Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or what have you, but the Angel did first. Just the Angel did first. Very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
No problem,
and
dude.
We look forward to seeing more stuff from you.
Hell yeah. I'll have a website up soon, working on that. That's going to be, trying to get that done in the next month or two, but I need to have stuff to put on the website, so we're getting there. It only takes, hours and hours and hours with a manual machine, but what can you do? You know what I'm saying?
Cool. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
All right, Justin.
Okay. So this is my Bridgeport clone, some Chinese knockoff from 1981. The saying for machinists is anybody can make a good part on a brand new machine. Only a good machinist can make a good part on a questionable machine. So that's this guy right here. This is the closing. I just picked this up, so this is ready to be fired up. This is going to get me into a whole new arena with paintball because we like tubes. We call those barrels. So that's going to allow me to do quite a bit. The cool thing about the closing, their motto is the world turns on closing Colchester lathes. So this machine is one of the many machines that help develop a whole bunch of things in aerospace and you name it. So this is actually a famous model, and any legitimate tool maker from like the past, they had one of these. So this was a gift from God. There was a little guy in El Monte. He made gaskets, and all he did was polish on it. He never like machined anything on it. So I got it for $600. All the waves are tight. Everything is smooth, and that was the happiest day of my life when I got this. So I'm gonna get that turned on. We just got a little bit of reorganization. This is the drill press that started it all. I actually got this from Pep Boys when I was like 10, and I remember I had to cut the shaft because I had it in like a little closet in my parents' house a long time ago. So that's very cool. And then over here we got my storage. This is what I learned is a machinist toolbox. So my grandpa was a small engine mechanic for Sears Roebuck, and it's hard to believe, but the #1 selling product in the mail order at the time when he was working there was riding lawnmowers. So Briggs and Stratton engines. So when I grew up, my grandpa was very old. My grandma had my mom when she was 45. So if you went into the garage, he had his 1983 Thunderbird, and we called it the Buddha. Because if you go in the garage, you had to ask Grandpa Stu for permission. You don't want to scratch the Buddha. But any kid sees all this crap, and it's like, I need to go through all those drawers. So he passed away, and on his deathbed, he gave me the Buddha and all of the tools. So as I progressed, learning machining, it's like, man, I need this micrometer. So I'm looking, oh man, those are expensive. And then I look in Grandpa's drawer, he's got 6 of them in there. So you know, God works in mysterious ways. You know, things happen for a reason. So whatever mechanical know-how he had, it passed down to me. And then yeah, so that's, we got projects and stuff going. More of the gold parts here, and then we've got some inventory. So these are all WGP. This is going to be turned into the Estilo stuff. We got some that are already ready to be anodized, and then I got vertical feeds. These are going to be dedicated to manual machines. So I do the right feeds on the CNCs,